We are set to go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Weekly Beer Show. I am one of your hosts, Travel Man Dan. That guy over there peeking behind the beer bucket is
Nate Light next.
Nate Knight next. All right, Nate, welcome. Welcome to the show, guys. This is going to be an exciting episode today. We have so much fun to go ahead and unleash to you guys today. Nate, are you ready to go?
Can't wait.
Can't wait, because we got some delicious beers. But let me tell you a little bit about what we do here if this is your first time here. We go ahead and we review beers. That's right. How many, Nate?
2.
That's right. 2 delicious, great beers, and we have some fun ones today. We got a guest, a very special guest. We're doing a callback. Someone that we had on the show before, someone that we absolutely love having on the show and just love as a person. Welcome, Damien. Welcome, Jens. Welcome, Barrow. But I'm excited to go ahead and bring today's guest on, as we're going to talk about action movies and beer and doing kind of fun stuff. Rocco! Morning, Rocco. And Nate, that's what we do. We've got some fun segments. So thanks. If you're just hopping by, enjoy the show, crack a beer, get ready for some fun. Nate, for our returning audience, why don't you let us know or send them a shout out or whatever?
You guys know exactly what we do here. We take 2 beers, we crack them open, we smell them, we drink them, we review them, and let you guys know if we like them or not. Typically, Danny likes all the beers. I don't like any of them. That's what we do.
No, not typically. Okay, yes, and there ain't nothing wrong with liking all the beers.
There's not.
Right?
There's nothing wrong with it.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Somebody better not be turning a certain snobbiness on us, okay? You're damn right, man. I love the champagne of beers, the High Life, and I love the Goose Island stuff. I love beer. And the thing is that's exactly what we do here on the show, and that's the message, and this is our why. We're just 2 regular guys who love beer. So we're going to give you an honest opinion, what we think of them. We're going to drink them. We're going to take them down our scorecard, and we're going to let you know what we think of them. Maybe we can provide some value and inspire you to check them out as well. But yes, generally speaking, I enjoy most of the beers. 26C, I don't ever want to see that thing again.
26C.
26C. Drunatic. All right. So, well, Nate, it's time for us to get started. And what better way to get started than to bring in today's guest? Are you ready for today's guest?
Can't wait. Super pumped.
Right. Today's guest we had back on the show about 8 months ago. He's a really good friend of ours. We met him in China, and, well, he runs a podcast called Martial Arts Mania. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about bringing in AJ the Rabbit Ricciardi. Welcome to the show, AJ. Bring him in.
What's up, guys?
What's up, AJ? All right, John. Oh, look at that sign. All right. A bunch of.
What's up, AJ?
How are you guys?
All right.
Awesome,
Pretty
man.
damn good.
Awesome.
Yeah. You're looking skinny, Nate.
Hey, thank you. You look skinny too, as always. What's that hat you're wearing on your head?
Oh, Cal State LA, baby. Well, mostly just because, once again, for people that don't know, as you guys have kind of finally discovered, I live up in the middle of nowhere. So even getting a high quality haircut, I have to drive an hour and a half. So at the moment, my hair's a little shaggy. It's a little long.
Yeah. I didn't notice your hair, but your eyebrows are looking pretty thick.
They're always thick. Hold on. I've always had thick eyebrows. Remember we talked about this because you told me how your brother has an eyebrow comb that he uses, and because I always have to do the same thing. You're like, man, my brother's got a comb he just carries with him, and I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I got thick eyebrows too. It must be the Paisan.
It's definitely.
Ryan Sapola, welcome. Giggles. I see Martin's in the house. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, AJ. Give him a warm weekly beer review. Welcome. All right. Welcome back, AJ.
Of course. And I also had to sport the classic. I've always got to have some Bruce Lee gear on.
All right. AJ, can you spot the Bruce Lee on the set?
On the set? Oh, my.
And you spot him.
I like the Fruity Pebbles. Oh, I see it. It's to the globe.
Yes. Yes, it is. There you go. You got Bruce over there kicking ass. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about. Majority of the show is AJ's podcast. AJ, why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast and what you do for those people that haven't seen you here on the show And obviously, you come right in hot off the gun for Bruce Lee. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So my podcast, I co-host with my very good friend, Gavin Kelly. It is focused on anything and everything martial arts movie related, martial arts training, but specifically more often than not, Hong Kong martial arts movies, and then the 80s and 90s straight to video, like US market of martial arts movies that we both grew up on. We both have a very interesting background. Obviously, I've been a lifelong martial artist. I studied film in both my undergraduate degree and my master's degree. And then I spent nearly 6 years living in China. That's where we all met at our wonderful job at CIEO. And then Gavin uniquely... come on, hey. And then Gavin uniquely grew up in Japan. But he is a white guy as well. So we ended up just kind of randomly running into each other in our years in LA. We ran in similar circles. We found out we were both martial arts movie nuts. And then on a whim for one of my grad school projects or classes, as a final project, I had to do something like I either had to make a website or this or produce a podcast. So we just did it one day. We interviewed our mutual sensei or coach, who's a very famous kickboxer, Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham, my mentor, my sensei, my guru. And then from there, it just grew into this thing that we kept doing. So we just released an episode this week for the first time in like 4 months. Because for a lot of people that don't know, unfortunately, my father passed away. And so we were kind of on a long hiatus just because end of the year dealing with all that. But we're back. We just recorded again yesterday. So we'll be dropping another episode on Monday. So hopefully the weekly episodes are back.
Hey,
Wow.
AJ, I got a question. I want to show everybody your old logo. Can I do that? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I think this is the old one, right?
No, this is the current one for the podcast. Now, it's funny. When I first started the podcast, we didn't have that one yet. So my very good friend and training partner and kind of what we would call in Chinese, my shixiong, or in Japanese, it's senpai. So like the top student under the master who also ends up teaching a lot to the other students. So my training partner, Herman, who's also been one of my main mentors, he's also my designer. He's the one that designs all the shirts and everything. So that awesome AJ the Rabbit shirt that Danny's wearing, and that, yes. So that's the other logo that he designed and he let us use at first before he did finish the Martial Arts Mania podcast.
When can I get a rendition for a T-shirt specifically for this picture?
Ooh, so here's funny thing about this. So I had always said, I like to put things out in the universe. You know, when I set myself a goal, I'm very goal oriented. And when it comes to my martial arts and stuff, I was not very good when I started. You know, I was not a natural athlete like you guys. You guys both played college baseball.
Whoa. Nate and natural athlete have not been used in the same sentence ever.
Well, for me, I set myself a goal and I said, you know what? When I first got into kickboxing, Muay Thai, and competing, I said, I'm going to be an amateur champion. I'm going to win a championship. And it took me over 10 years. And then when I did finally win my first big title, I said, if I won, I was going to grow a mullet. And I even messaged a few people and said, you know what? If I win it, I'm going to finally grow a mullet. I won. And then that's when I grew out the mullet. So that was about 6 months deep into the mullet. And that was just before the lockdowns for the pandemic. So I went to a career fair where they took a nice, free picture and everything. And I showed Jessica, I'm like, look at this nice picture I got. This is my wonderful partner, Jessica. And she just looks at it like, that would have been such a nice picture if not for your hair. So I don't get to really use that picture, which is why I love that you guys used it for this.
No, we love it, AJ. And, before we get started, I would like to say my condolences to you and your family. I know you went through a tough time, and your father was very close to you. It was one of the reasons why you moved up there and moved home, is to spend time with you or with him. So he's in a good place now. He's out of pain, and once again, we've talked not in the show or whatever, but I want to publicly say that hey, prayers, condolences, still thinking of you and your family. So.
And he definitely watched the first one we did, and I can say he would have been very happy to see me drinking beer at 10:30 in the morning on a Sunday, because as most people know, I'm not the biggest drinker, and my dad always liked me to cut loose a little bit just because he was always so supportive of my martial arts and my training, but liked to see me, also have a little fun once in a while. And he was a big Crown Royal drinker, as we know. Yeah, so I think he would be equally as happy to see me drinking a couple beers with you guys. And yeah, So just to raise awareness, once again, the disease, progressive supranuclear palsy, it's no joke. It's finally getting more exposure. There was actually a pre-spot before the Super Bowl with the Giants, former Giants head coach, who's now a caretaker for his wife. And I'm not sure if you guys saw that little spot they did, but he is also caretaking for his wife, Judy, who has progressive supranuclear palsy. So once again, the more we raise awareness for this disease, the more attention it gets, the more clinical trials they can keep doing, and hopefully find medicine to help battle it. And so people can live a much more comfortable life, similar to Parkinson's disease nowadays.
Well, AJ, if you want, send over all the stuff. I'll be sure to put it down in the description. So that way, if people are watching this and they don't understand what we just talked about, what you just explained, that they can go and they can click on a link and they can go ahead and they can research it. But absolutely.
Yes.
And keeping on task with the show and what your father would have liked to have seen. Let's get to that beer drinking, boys. What do you say? All right. So, today is one of my favorite flavors in the world, if you will, because I really like beer and I love peanut butter. So I'm not sure how this is going to work, but today's beer comes from Reno, Nevada. It comes from Lead Dog Brewing, and it is the peanut butter stout from Lead Dog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. And shouts out to you, AJ, for going ahead and getting the beer because
made it happen.
Yeah,
well, originally we had picked a different one, which I don't know if you want to share or not, but up here, once again, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So when I have to drive very far to find stuff, so I went to this one that was supposed to have it. I show up and they're like, we're all out. So I happened to find this one. It worked out great. So I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah, must be good.
It's not a wheat beer, so you're gonna have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, they know what's up. Okay.
All right. Well, this is a stout. It is 6.6%, so it is a stronger beer. If you've ever seen the show or if you've ever seen a stout, they're quite thick. They're dark. They're black in color. But they have a lot of these robust flavors, a lot of nutty flavors, a lot of chocolatey flavors, and this one peanut butter. So let's go ahead and crack this one open, boys, and give it a first sniff. Oh yeah. They have to
smacks you in the face with peanut butter.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Don't we love on this show when a stout delivers what they say they're going to do? Because we've had stouts before, and it's very alley, it's very boozy, but they miss on the mark of being like a pecan or whatever. You crack this sucker open, you smell the peanut butter, huh, AJ?
Yeah.
This is going to be more of that Irish style stout. That it's going to be less boozy. It's going to be less sweet.
What's going on over there?
I dropped it, but I saved it.
Oh, hey, yes, he's safe. You are an athlete.
See, that's that college baseball.
Nate, I take that back. You are an athlete. You're naturally gifted. Let's go ahead and pour it and see what happens.
Saved it.
Oh, I don't have a glass.
That's all right.
That was my bad. I'm just gonna drink straight out of the thing once we're ready.
Oh yeah.
It did get shaken up on me a little bit. That's all right.
It looks like flat pop.
Yeah, it does. It looks like cola.
Flat pop. That's that East Coast Buffalo slang. Soda.
Damien says, this is making me hungry for a peanut butter sandwich. I agree, Damien. I get a lot of shit for still eating those kid sandwiches, but
guys, I'll be right back.
Where are you going? We're about to take the first sip.
I know, go for it. I got to clean this up.
Oh, okay.
All right. Here we go, good sir.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers.
Bing.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
There it is. I was about to say, I like it, but I'm not tasting the peanut butter, but literally like 4 seconds after I got the peanut butter taste.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Let me tell you what I think on my first sip, guys.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, when I taste it, you definitely, like AJ said, you taste a little bit of a little bit of the alcohol coming through first. But then afterwards, it leaves that aftertaste of that synthetic peanut butter taste that is, well, it's probably most familiar with most people with either a Reese's or a Captain Crunch peanut butter cereal. So really prominent peanut butter taste. I think this ale is delicious. It's fresh. It's clean. A perfect stout. Chris Duncan says, I want to see the replay of the save. It was all-star worthy.
See,
Welcome. Well done, Nate. But
it wasn't as good as I thought it was. It leaked out more than I thought.
Yeah, well,
that's what I'm doing.
Your best. Yo, fam. The people's favorite beer show.
Oh, Xi Jinping is here?
Hey, man.
Xi Jinping. Oh.
All right. And then, hello, Xi Jinping. 你好.
你好,大家好.
大家好. Okay. Somebody's very angry over there on Facebook. We got an angry. Guys, if you're just hopping up, please go ahead and hit that like button. AJ, talk us through your first sip. What'd you think?
Yeah, so upon the first sip, it tasted like your typical stout. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good, but I wasn't tasting the peanut butter. So I was like, oh, I like it. But then it was literally like 3 or 4 seconds later that I tasted the peanut butter. And then a few seconds after that, like the aftertaste was the peanut butter. And it's funny because you say it's kind of like that synthetic peanut butter taste. Because for me, I also love the flavor of peanut butter. The funny part is I actually don't like peanut butter usually, the texture and stuff, and I don't really eat it on anything. But I love like peanut butter bars. I love peanut butter shakes. And so I'm digging it. I'm digging it so far.
Nice. And what about you, Spills?
Hey, so yeah, I like it. Definitely hits the mark with the peanut butter. So there is some confusion whether this is the peanut butter chocolate stout or just the peanut butter stout. I think Lead Dog offers both. I don't see chocolate on the can here, and I don't taste chocolate in the beer.
Definitely not, because this guy wouldn't be drinking it if it had the chocolate on there.
AJ does not like chocolate.
Not at all.
I tried. Listen, I really tried to trick AJ. I thought this one, but then I realized, and I was talking to Nate about it, I go, this is chocolate stout or peanut? It's just peanut butter, straight peanut butter. A lot of the stouts nowadays are mixed with, like I said, a lot of nutty flavors. They use that overlay of chocolate in there to kind of suppress all that, or not suppress it, but just kind of mix it all together. This, unfortunately, is just peanut butter stout, but it's really good. And one thing you're going to find out is as we continue to let this beer sit here and it warms up a little bit, stouts really start to breathe a little bit, and the flavors from either the bottom of the can or bottle or whatever, I don't know what it is. It does this mysterious change where it tastes more mealy and it tastes even better. Ain't that right, Nate?
Yeah, there's an oxidation that happens after you crack it open, you pour it, and you give it some time to kind of breathe, like you just said. It does, the temperature changes it. Now, this is a thinner stout than what we've been typically drinking. AJ, we had one about 2 or 3 weeks ago from Goose Island, which was a cola flavored stout.
Ooh,
15.5%. When you drink that, it's very molassesy, right? It has this kind of chewy profile to it. And this is more of what I would call probably an Irish stout, something similar to what a Guinness would be, but it has a peanut butter flavor. The ABV is going to be lower, somewhere between 5 and 7%. So it's a crisper stout. It's less thick. It's less syrupy. And that's what this is. I think they've done a good job.
I'm digging it so far.
I just want to go back to this comment right here and say hi to Tenacious Freak. Welcome, Rick Fontana. Good to see you here. Thanks for stopping by and supporting the show. We really appreciate it. Today's guest right there, AJ the Rabbit Ricciardi. He is the creator and co-host of the podcast, The Martial Arts Mania. And AJ, I gotta say, man, this is friggin' awesome, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and play you a little thing from the podcast, which I think is awesome. Right from the go, right from the jump, he starts it off. This is badass. Listen to this man's intro.
Thank you, royalty-free music.
Now that is freaking cool, man. That just got like 80s, like I don't know. I feel like I'm driving one of those old Lamborghinis. I'm going to save the chick. I jump out. I fight a couple of really bad dudes with baseball bats and fingerless gloves. I just absolutely love it.
We're talking the Miami Vice era, which Danny was maybe like 4 or 5. I was just born, and Nate was already in college. So that's the period like that obviously inspires us, that 80s awesome aesthetic, because even my logo, the Martial Arts Mania podcast logo, there's an actual name for that kind of design now, because when I was telling, once again, the designer, my good friend Herman, kind of what I wanted, he already knew he's like, oh, that's called 80s chic or something like that. So, it's very popular, and it always makes me think of even like the original, I think it was the Diet Pepsi logo. Remember where it had the lines in it and stuff? Yes. It's definitely just like the era that still inspires me. A lot of the, the actors and martial artists from that period. Sometimes they weren't necessarily the best actors, but it was just a different time, man. When that's where I drew my inspiration from as a kid, was martial arts cinema, action stars. Like, I wanted to be one of those guys. And I mean, I know nowadays sometimes it's looked at as like hyper masculinity, but you know what? Nothing really wrong with that necessarily, as long as they're good people, right? I know for Danny, Sylvester Stallone is also a huge inspiration for him, as he was for me. And so these were the kind of guys that drove me to better myself in a sense, whether it was with my physical training or my martial arts and what I wanted to accomplish. So that's why we just love talking and breaking down, but we also like taking sometimes a slightly more academic approach, analytical approach to breaking down films that don't necessarily get the same sort of respect in terms of like highbrow cinema that people look at. And this started for me when I was an undergrad, and I remember taking a Chinese cinema class. And I was really disappointed in the lack of martial arts films in there. And the professor straight up telling me, when I asked her, I'm like, well, how come we don't really address Bruce Lee at all? And she straight up said to me, oh, because Bruce Lee was not important. And that for me, I was just like, what? And so that's one of the reasons why that kind of always lingered in my brain. So when I decided to go back to grad school, one of my goals was to give more recognition to martial arts cinema, because it is extremely important. And especially now that we're getting these remastered Blu-rays of these classic films from like the Shaw Brothers era of traditional Kung Fu martial arts films, we're seeing that these were real movies that have merit, that have, I mean, a lot of these directors and stuff can't even be looked at as auteurs, that this is real filmmaking. But just because it was different than the standard American norm, they were ignored for a long time. So I'm trying to give recognition to these movies.
What if you were to recommend something then, AJ, someone that doesn't understand that niche of film and something that's been come out and digitally remastered and brought up to 2022 standards, what would you recommend for somebody to try to get into that?
I got this right behind me. 1 second.
While AJ gets that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say, I believe that's a Shalom from Bucky.
So this was my Christmas present from my wonderful partner, Jessica, a re-release of the Shaw Brothers, it's like 10 classic Shaw Brothers movies. So it's called the Shaw Scope. These are all Blu-ray remasters. It's got beautiful artwork in the inside. And these films have never looked this gorgeous. So just this morning, I had Jessica watch with me a classic film, and this is one I'd recommend to anyone, called Heroes of the East, aka Shaolin Challenges Ninja. And it's a great movie about Japanese martial arts versus Chinese martial arts. And it's just a really fun movie. And so this would be a great starting point, this box set, the Shaw Scope, for anybody that wants to get into traditional Kung Fu movies, or like, for example, in Chinese would be the Kung Fu Pian. So literally just means Kung Fu movies.
The funny, I don't know what's even funnier, Nate, is the fact that AJ's woke up in the morning and drinking beer at 10 in the morning, but the fact that he probably made Jess watch a Kung Fu movie at, say, 7:30 in the morning.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Seeing these movies now, like on this Blu-ray remastered and stuff, I'm seeing more and more people watch them and enjoy them, because for Danny, as Danny would know, like classic people used to watch like the Black Belt Theater on Saturday afternoons, right? And it was not necessarily the best copies of these movies. It was like pan and scans, and the transfer wasn't good. And so it was very low quality versions of these films we used to have. Now that they're beautiful and remastered, regular folks who maybe aren't necessarily even fans of the genre can watch these films and appreciate them, just like, wow, I love the set design. Wow, I love the costumes. And wow, the action is so clean and beautiful, because Wing Chun, number one. Thank you, Xi Jinping. Yong Chun, Yong Chun.
Robert.
But Robert, that's right. But yeah, so for example, even the one we watched this morning with Jessica, it's so fun because you see the Japanese culture and the Chinese culture and the martial arts challenging each other. And it's one of the few traditional Shaw Brothers movies where not a single person dies. It's all just kind of
wow. Yeah. One of the things I love about the old kung fu movies is, and here's a little tip, guys. Here's a little life hack. If you don't know, AJ actually brought this to my attention. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Amazon Video. And a lot of people look down on Amazon, except for like the superhero one that came out, some other big movies that they have that, But here's the thing. If you dive into the old kung fu movies, just type in kung fu movies, Amazon's got over 100 of them. Okay, so I'm able to watch all the ones that I have here on a VHS right on Amazon. It's what I usually watch just to have in the background between that and Seinfeld. And I tell you, man, Amazon is really awesome. But
Amazon Prime is a great resource. They actually did what I jokingly called the Great Exodus, where they took off literally hundreds of movies, but they still have so many. There's also an additional app on Hiya. You could pay on Prime called Hiya, which is like $2 a month, which also has a bunch of great movies, both contemporary, like modern ones, and some classic ones.
Well, one of the things I loved about the classic movies, hey, Carlos, see you the man, Dan, thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I like this version better, Nate. One of the things I like about it is there was always this one-on-one duel that just was framed perfect. Now, look, here's the thing that I will say about action movies that have changed over the last 20 years. When we all grew up watching action movies, we were kids. Martial arts and UFC did not exist. So these real-life athletes were above real life. They were like this mystic thing, like, oh, he's a black belt in karate. You know what I mean? It was this thing. But yeah, you turn on any PFL, UFC, pro kickboxing, these athletes that are doing this stuff that you see in the movie are way beyond the actors in a lot of cases, are way beyond the athleticism, what they can do. And, if you ever had the actor a lot of times going up against the real martial artist, well, we know what would happen there. So it's changed things a lot. But when you go back to the old Chinese, the Shaw Brothers movies and stuff, there's always this weird little duel that went on in the grass or like at the restaurant.
Yep.
And it was just filmed so perfect. It was just,
These were, as opposed to necessarily being real fighters, like you just mentioned, they were performers, right? So a lot of the times they either had training in traditional Chinese martial arts, or maybe it was in the Peking opera. So literally a performing martial art. And like that's like Jackie Chan, that's right. And so that's what made them able to transition into film so beautifully. And this style of filming was, they didn't have to do any tricks. They didn't have to do a ton of rapid cuts. They can literally just let the performers go at it because they were so good. And that's why we have these longer shots, these wider frames, right? Where we didn't have to have any tricks or anything. Nowadays, with like a lot of American action stuff, and this kind of started with Paul Greengrass's style in the Bourne films. There's a lot of that quick shaky cam cutting and editing, which occasionally, if you put a little bit in that, it can accentuate the action stylistically. But the problem is, it's just taken over. So, and audiences are getting tired of it. It's like you almost get seasick watching all this. And so the classic performers, you didn't have to do anything. You just kind of let them go. So it is kind of coming back more to that now, especially with like the John Wick movies, where we're getting just this real authentic martial arts performances. One of my favorites in the last 6 or 7 years was Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron. So good. So that's what audiences, they don't like to be tricked. They like to see the real thing. So we're kind of seeing it comes in circles. It comes in circles. And Danny even mentioned, the UFC and martial arts and a lot of old style kind of traditional systems being exposed as not really that effective. And I think that's kind of a good thing, because when it comes to self-defense and martial arts, we want people learning the real thing. That being said, it's also life imitating art, because you listen to a lot of these UFC fighters or something, and it's like, well, what got you into martial arts? 9 times out of 10, it's Bruce Lee, or it's like, I grew up watching kickboxing with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's what made me want to fight. So some of these best fighters in the world right now were inspired by martial arts cinema. So everything goes full circle, man. Everything is, it's like yin and yang.
I'd like to know your opinion, Nate. I don't know if you've seen this or not. And I talked about what I was watching. A great fight scene. I've talked about it with my friend, I think, over in China. But if you haven't seen Bob Odenkirk's movie Nobody, he fights on the bus and he beats up these the Russian gangsters, and like that style was cool because it was a little bit of new stuff, old stuff. But AJ, I do want to talk to you, and this goes out to you and Gavin. As I listened to your podcast this last week about Hitman and the Hand of Buddha, there was a thing that came up about Jackie Chan movies and what's your favorite like go-to pleasurable Jackie Chan movie? And both you and Gavin are in the doghouse. Neither one of you mentioned Dragon Blade.
Oh, so Dragon Blade. Okay, it's a fun one for sure. I mean, we know like post-production wise how it ended up being a lot different than, because as we all know, Danny had one of the key central roles for being part of John Cusack's team in that movie, and Danny filmed a lot more than they got featured, which sucks. But that's just what happens with actors a lot of times. Like, because Danny had a great monologue sequence that didn't make the final cut, which sucks. But you know, that movie was special because at that time in China, they were literally recruiting every single foreigner to be in that movie because of these big giant battle sequences. I got asked at least 4 or 5 different times to be in that movie, and I don't regret not doing it because I remember Danny being like, "AJ, you gotta come do it." I was getting ready to fight in a Sanda tournament, and so that was my focus. So I don't have regret because of that. I mean, in retrospect, I wish I would have maybe done it, but
I always wish.
It's a fun movie because that's where I first got to meet a lot of our now mutual friends. Like that was how I first met Tomer because that's where you first met him. Yeah. That's how I first met Joel, our good friend Joel, and a bunch of other folks. And also we had already met Mr. Max Huang, who's now become very successful in Hollywood. He was featured in the Mortal Kombat movie as Kung Lao. So
I think they're bringing back part 2.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see because spoiler alert, in the new Mortal Kombat movie, he dies. So but I imagine they're going to bring him back in some way. So that would be great. But Dragon Blade is a fun one for me simply because who was involved in it.
Right. Okay, well, Nate, I know we're kind of getting all crazy and stuff on here, but
I love it.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're drinking. It's the peanut butter stout from Lead Dog Brewing out of Reno, Nevada. A lot of people don't know what stout is. If you just turned on this thing, look at it. It looks like you're drinking like black pop or like old flattened soda. And
on the can, it looks like, it's funny when we first poured it. Nate said how it looks like cola, but when you see it on the can on the rim, it looks just like if you're drinking a Coke or something.
Yeah, it's got that stain thing, but Nate, talk us through what is exactly a stout? Why is it the way it is? Drop some knowledge on us. Nate knows everything. Teach us, buddy.
Well, so we've really what I wanted to talk about today was a little bit about the variance between the 2 beers that we're going to be drinking. So of course we have a stout that we're drinking right now. That this one's flavored with peanut butter, and then we have a lager option that we'll be drinking next, pun intended, which is a Bud Light offering. And if you remember our conversation from even last week or the week before that, we had these graphics that came up. Sorry, Danny, my mouse is not working here.
The beer?
It might be.
Oh no.
Anyway, so the whole point is we have 2 different styles of beer, right? When you're making beer, you've got 2. You've got lager. That's doing it again. It's so weird.
I got it, Nate.
Oh, you got it? All right. So what the heck's the difference? On the left, you've got lager. On the right, you've got ale. Again, that has to do with the fermentation process. Once we get down here, you can see the lagers to the left. They're going to be a cooler process. You're going to get a crisper, cleaner finish. The body's going to be super light. On the right, your ales is going to be a little bit warmer. The yeast is going to be hitting on the top. As you can see, these 2 here on the left, now you have ale, and on the right, lager. The stout that we're drinking would fall into the ale category, and the Bud Light next would fall into the lager. Now, what is a stout, and what exactly does that mean? So it's an ale. It's a dark and bold type of beer. The grain that you're using in this, if you want to control the color, that's going to happen with the grain. There's a myriad of grains that you can select from, starting with something very, very light and yellowish, like a Pils grain, all the way through a chocolate or a dark grain, which is what you see here, which would be a stout. So there's going to be a little bit more character. There's going to be a little bit more body. You're going to get a little bit more lingering on the back of the palate. Of course, you get that creamy foam at the top. And there's one beer that is synonymous with the stout globally, and that would be, we all know, Guinness, right? And Guinness, as you can see here, this is an Irish style stout. Within the stout category, you've got all sorts of other different stouts. You've got pastry stouts, you've got imperial stouts, Russian imperial, like something like an old Rasputin where the ABV is going to be a little bit higher. But essentially the way that you're getting a difference of beer is going to come from the quality and type of grain. For a stout, it's going to be something dark. It's going to be the top fermentation process. And that is what we have here. This is what comes out.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I think that I noticed right away when I drink a stout, and then when you bring up these graphics and you talk about it and the grain and stuff like that, the one thing that sticks out to me, Nate, is the roast. You can taste the roast. You can taste that meal kind of that when you're drinking a beer, you feel like, I feel like I'm eating a meal. I feel like I'm having something off the grill, if you will. It has that roasted flavor. It gives that thing a little bit less of a boozy taste. For instance, look at the porter. You drink the porter, you feel like you're drinking, basically someone dropped a shot of whiskey into your beer.
Yeah, I mean, and then, of course, we can go through a discussion on the differences between porters and stouts, but essentially those are the same thing. They're using a darker profiled grain. They're extracting the carbohydrate and the nutrients from that grain during the work process and the boil, and that's what gives you the color. Even when I bring out the IPA that I homebrewed recently, I'll pour that out next week and we'll take a look at it. That color comes directly from the grain. So the stout, again, that toastiness you talk about, that's one of the identifiers of stout, right? It tastes like it's been, like if you take sesame seeds and you just kind of dump them out from your little dispenser, or if you put them into a pan with a little bit of olive oil and roast them, there's a completely different flavor profile. And that's what you get from stout. It's a bit dark. It's a bit burnt. And I like that.
Yeah, me too. It tastes like, it's always one of my favorite. It's always one of my favorite things to see it. If you ever see it, consider yourself lucky. You're outside, you're at a campfire, and some kid's got a really long, wobbly stick roasting a marshmallow. The thing catches on fire. They freak out and they want to put the flame out. It flies off the stick and lands on your friend's neck. It's a thing of glory. I hope that never happens to you, but hopefully you'll be able to see it and get out of the way. But these types of beers definitely taste like that roasted marshmallow, that black carcinogen thing that you're tasting. And when they're added with all these other extra flavors, these creams, these nuts, these chocolates, that's really what they're trying to kind of emulate, is that dessert beer. Stouts are not to be drank like 14 deep at a volleyball game.
Can't do it.
They're made to just enjoy cold winter days. I don't know.
You might be able to do that with a Guinness, but what Danny's talking about, the new craze over pastry stouts, and that's where it's becoming much richer, much more decadent. The ABV is going to be somewhere around 12 to 15%. Oh, let's call it 9 to 15%. That's where they're dropping actual pieces of cannoli into the fermentation process. What? Or they're putting pieces of cheesecake or peanut butter or chocolate.
Really?
They're actually, they're adding these things. You can put it into cheesecloth and put it into the brew. So that's kind of how they're getting those flavors. A lot of the times when you're relying just on the grain itself, you're going to only find the coffee note, the chocolate note. For you to actually get peanut butter in here, you need to put peanut butter in there or some sort of an extract.
No.
Knowledge bombs.
This comment comes in from Norway, from Jens, and he says, how do the Chinese like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies?
I saw that.
I'll let AJ respond, but I want to just say, one of the things that I noticed about China is they love the masculinity. Mm-hmm. They love that a foreign, not even so much foreign. Let's just go with a man fighting and, going on his quest. They love all of that 80s masculinity stuff. Now it's kind of looked at as toxic and bad and things like that. I don't know why, but it is.
And
they like that stuff a lot. So I would have to assume that they definitely like Jean-Claude Van Damme and they like his movies. AJ, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more.
Sure. And it's actually very interesting because when we first went over to, speaking of masculinity and male representation, when we first were in China, the three of us, we're talking circa, so like when we were all working together, 2011, beginning of 2011, it was noticed that a lot of our young male students, their role models weren't someone, say, like Bruce Lee, who I grew up idolizing. It was like K-pop stars. And we were always like, what the heck? You guys need like better role models. And recently the Chinese government has actually cracked down on these celebrities or super mega stars, the male ones that were wearing like too much makeup and doing their nails. And suddenly these guys are coming out where they're a little more masculine now. So the government has actually been kind of cracking down on that. But back to JCVD, Jean-Claude Van Damme. As far as his audienceship in mainland China, I can't really speak to that exactly. They are fans of action movies. They do love the action genre. It is part of their culture. Jean-Claude Van Damme, his first big movie was filmed in Hong Kong. We're talking Bloodsport, and he went back and did Double Impact there. He actually keeps residence in Hong Kong. So he's a big fan of Chinese culture, Hong Kong culture. Specifically, as far as films of his being popular in the mainland, he did I think it was 2015 or so, he filmed a movie at Ace Studios near Foshan or near Shunda, where Danny and I actually worked on a couple of movies, Ace Studios. So he filmed a movie there called Pound of Flesh. And then that same year, he was in a movie called Tianbing Man. So that's like the flat pancakes, right? It was like a superhero comedy where he played the villain. And so obviously they brought him in specifically. It was like a glorified cameo in a sense. So there's definitely audiences recognize him, and I'd say there's appreciation for him. Now, whether that was from, because even when you have to think about when his movies first started coming out, they would have had more recognition in Hong Kong than mainland China, because we're talking late 80s, early 90s mainland China, which was just starting to kind of boom up a little bit, maybe like even things like the VCR and stuff like that weren't available to them. So they wouldn't even had access to his films when he was at his peak.
And that's one of the things I wanted to, chime in real quick about. First of all, Damien, yes, the dessert stouts are amazing. Hey, Bob, how you doing? Welcome to the show. But yes, the thing about Van Damme is like also China moves very, very fast, very fast. So the things that we grew up on, that we hold on to as being nostalgic and looking up to, and pretty much everybody in the United States knows about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Even the younger people know about him from their parents or whatever. China probably just has no idea.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was, his big movies like Double Team and Double Impact and Bloodsport, of course, and some of the other great movies that he did, they're long gone. Same with Steven Seagal and stuff like that. China has moved on to the stars of today. And plus always go back, and like we do.
Yeah, and China has their own. I mean, they've always had their own homegrown stars in a sense. Mostly, we're talking Hong Kong cinema, because the thing is, Chinese cinema, yes, has been around, like modern Chinese cinema, post-communist revolution, has been around since the 70s. And then in the 90s, we started to have a little more art house cinema. So we had the second generation filmmakers, but it wasn't really until post 2000 that mainland Chinese cinema really took off. And now it's obviously massive. So most of the quote unquote homegrown stars were Hong Kong stars. But in the last 20 years, they now have a bunch of their own homegrown mainland Chinese stars. As far as like action cinema goes, we've got people like Eddie Peng, a Taiwanese Chinese actor, Jay Cho, the rapper and actor. These are guys that kind of did a couple action movies, but more importantly, we have Wu Jing, who was starring in the Wolf Warrior movies, which are massive box office successes. Yeah. You've got actresses all over the place, Fan Bingbing, Gao Yuan, stuff like that.
You're going to be able to see. We're going to bring Kevin, my buddy Kevin, is one of the main actors in Wolf Warrior. He's going to be on the show. So we're going to.
Kevin was also in Pound of Flesh, I think, right?
He was on Pound of Flesh
with Van Damme. Yeah,
he was. He was on Pound of Flesh. He was in. He works all the time over there. He's probably China's biggest foreign bad guy, or
literally biggest.
Yeah,
Big dog?
He's big. What's that?
Big dog? Really?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that.
He works all the time. He's on another film right now on a Wing Chun, but look forward. I've been talking to him. It's just that the time now that we do the show, it's 1 a.m. in the morning in Beijing, so it's hard for him. But hey, Nate, great information. Thanks for teaching us and showing us the way on the stouts. AJ, love all the info on the Hong Kong stuff. That's amazing. Now it's time for a little good news. We got a lot of bad news out there. I want to go ahead and bring you guys this. Check it out, man. This is bad ass. No more whale hunting in Iceland. Whales off the coast of Iceland will be left alone and by the end of next year, and the nation's fishermen's ministry announced cancellation of all new permits for commercial whaling. Now, once the current permits expire, ending after the 2023 season, it will be the end of the practice. Even though hunting quotas are set around 400 fin and minke whales, only one whale was hunted last year. That's pretty good.
Wow.
What's the reason for hunting whales?
For it. Iceland only came to be in 1948. It was a result of tourists falsely believing that it was centuries-old tradition practices and that whale meat was a staple of the island. When in reality, it was only a sample dish for tourists and restaurants. The International Fund for Animal Welfare conducted a survey as part of their Meet Us, Don't Eat Us campaign, which found that Icelanders believed that whales were worth more alive than dead. A Gallup poll found that only 2% ate whales 6 or more times a year, and that 84% of Icelanders had flat out never even tried meat. That's awesome, man. Because hey, let's be honest. These things are beautiful creatures. They're beautiful animals. I mean, to have something that big and then being hunted and then cut up and they didn't really even use it.
That's the thing. Because we're all meat eaters here, the three of us. And the thing is, yes, we eat meat. Obviously, animals have to be sacrificed for that. Thank you, animals. But if it's something like that where they're not even, it's just going to waste and you're just killing the creatures for no reason. It's a gimmicky, touristy type thing. Then
it's irresponsible. You know, it's one thing. You know, I
Jens just said I tasted whale meat. Do not recommend. Thank you.
Well, Jens is from Norway, so that's also way up there in Scandinavia. Hey, what were you going to say?
Nothing. I just think it's good. It's our responsibility to eat, food that's sourced the right way, and that we try to eat as much of it as possible. Is one of my gripes with Western civilization and society is that we don't do that with our animals. We pull the chicken breast off the chicken and we leave the rest of it to rot. So it would be better if we had a little bit more responsibility when we do that. If you're gonna get the whale and it's feeding a bunch of people, great. But if it's going to waste, it should stop immediately.
Right. That's my same position on hunting. If you're hunting and you're going to eat what you're hunting, then heck yeah, go for it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of big game hunting, or where you're literally just killing something to put it on your wall. Right. Not my cup of tea. But if you're hunting to eat it, then go for it.
Especially when the animals are typically fenced in like a 30-mile radius. So they're in this area. You just got to go and snuff them out. It ain't like you're hunting them like, they're
but I mean, there is population control things there. I don't know all the stories. So I don't want to get into it because I don't know it. And I know it's a hot topic, but I know there are some benefits to that. I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah, same thing. And because you don't know enough about it, we're not going to talk about it because you should be educated before you discuss something.
All around, we have a general agreement. But that brings us to show and tell, and I got a fun show and tell for you today. AJ's been there to this actual place, and this is a place that a lot of people don't even know about, but it's a really significant place if you're a martial arts movie buff, if you really love Bruce Lee, if you just really wanted to go and travel and see something neat. And, I like to go to Travelman Dan episodes of obscure and weird places. Unfortunately, I didn't pick up the camera until I returned back from China. But this place is really cool. This is what a lot of people don't know. It's in a small little subdivision of the city Foshan. It's called Nanhai. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. Me and AJ went to the Bruce Lee State Park, if you will. Or, check this out. Look at the size of this Bruce Lee statue. All right. Massive statue.
That's awesome.
There's another one here from a different look. Pretty badass. A lot of people don't know this, but Bruce Lee's family was from this district of Foshan, and his lineage comes from here. That's why they built it here. But one of the cool things about this is not just the statue, but you go there, and there's a museum there. And this museum has a lot, and I mean probably the most that I know. Maybe in Hong Kong, it might be different, but a ton of original Bruce Lee, like writings, photographs, not like photos of photographs, like the actual little square photograph, the black and whites of his family, just really his family tradition and lineage. And it was a great place, AJ. We had a great time there.
Oh, it was so much fun. We took like a field trip. It was us and our other foreign friends. We had a few Americans. We had some Colombians. We had the big guy that was from Eastern Europe. That
Marco.
Marco, there we go. Yeah.
Oh man, forgot about that guy.
Yeah. So it was like an eclectic group of foreigners, and it was one of those instances where us being there, all the like local Chinese were always so fascinated, and you constantly have to do the Bruce Lee pose, and you were getting asked to take pictures next to the statue and stuff. Because in all fairness, there's definitely a lot of exploitation of Bruce Lee within mainland China. We all know the Zhenggong Fu restaurant, which is a chain of fast food restaurants with his logo that they didn't get the rights for necessarily. But this particular museum has a lot of great authentic items. So it is definitely worth the journey. If you are a martial arts fan, I would recommend that place. And the Wang Fei Hung Museum in Foshan is also a great place that has a lot of Yip Man stuff and therefore some Bruce Lee things. And there is also a great exhibit in Hong Kong. I'm not sure if, because of the pandemic, timelines have been skewered and stuff, so I'm not sure if it's even still there. But that was one of the best I ever saw as far as Bruce Lee exhibits and museums go. They had so much authentic, real Bruce Lee stuff. So there's definitely, as much as there's exploitation of Bruce in the mainland, there is also some authentic displays of appreciation for him and so forth.
Interesting. All right. Well, we saw it firsthand. It's a great place. I love that being there. And if you're ever in China, especially in the South, it's worth the hour and a half drive into the sticks to go see if you're a fan of Bruce Lee. This is what we're drinking. We're going to whack it down and give it a score, guys.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
That's good beer, man.
I liked it.
Really good beer. I mean, okay. I'm going to get right into it. Because we got 3 people. We're going to score this thing. The taste was phenomenal. I really liked the roasted flavor. The peanut butter was a predominant up front, in your nose, in your mouth taste. It tasted like you were drinking cereal milk. To be honest, that's what I felt like I was drinking. After you finish your bowl of Captain Crunch peanut butter, you drink the milk. That's what this beer tastes like. I'm a huge fan of peanut butter. I'm really liking what they're doing with stouts this year, this last couple of years. I'm going to go ahead and give it a score of 4.5.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a 3.5. I like the taste too. I think there is something missing. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger or my palate on it, but I do like it. I think it's a really good offering. It hits the nail on the head with the peanut butter. I wish it was a little boozier, if I'm being honest. I'd like to see it in that 8.2% range. But overall, great taste, 3.5.
Not bad.
Funny because I was instinctively thought 4 in my head. So we're like I'm right in the middle there. So same thing. I have to agree with Nate where it's almost like I want a little more of that boozy taste in a sense. Otherwise, I enjoyed it. As I said, upon first sip, I was like, well, where's the peanut butter? Oh, there it is. So I like that. It's not overly in your face peanut butter either, because there's a lot of people that may like peanut butter, but not like it that much.
Sure.
So I think that they would definitely dig this drink, but it's not like you're being overwhelmed by peanut butter. You're not being punched in the face by it.
Right.
Hey, 4 is a great score. Price, Nate, what did we pay for this? We bought this in the hall too.
Yeah, this was $2.29 for a 12-ounce can.
That's a good price. It's a 6.6 beer. It's probably right where it's supposed to be, because typically when you buy like your macro beers, they're between $1.79 and $2. This beer is a little more advanced than those types of beers. So $2.29 is not a bad price point. I'm going to go ahead and get a score of a 4.0.
I'm going to go 3.5. Pretty much the same reasoning. I'm just going to be a little bit lower with it because I think 4.0, I'd say if it was $1.99, I might put it there. 2.29, 3.5. It's a fair price.
I'm going to simply say 4.0 because here's the deal. When I bought it, it didn't jump out at me like, I'm paying how much? I don't even remember how much it cost. Yeah. So therefore, I'm thinking, okay, it was fair. So I'll give it a 4.
Nice. All right, design. Look, I like the design. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of cartoony. It's got the peanut butter dripping down from it. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do here, but something about it doesn't pop out to me as peanut butter. Like you have to kind of take a step back and kind of look at it. I don't know if it's the shininess. We've talked before about the matte sticker, how it just looks better when you're doing a little bit more artwork. I like it, but I don't love it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a score of a 3.0.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a score also of a 3.0, but I think they do hit the nail on the head. When I look at this can, I immediately think peanut butter.
Do you?
Yeah, because of the color, right? It looks like a peanut butter color, but
Yeah.
I will knock it because it's cartoony without being a good cartoony. And it doesn't describe anything on here. You know, I'm a stickler for, descriptions on the beer. What are they thinking? What are they doing? Give me a story. I want to feel involved. They don't have any of that. So I'm going to give it slightly an average score of a 3.0.
All right, nice. AJ, what are you giving it on design there?
I'm going to stick with my 4 again because I think it's kind of funny. Like, I like it. But the thing is, it also kind of reminds me of root beer, right? With the dripping down on the top. And
I can see that.
I'm a big fan of root beer. So I like it. Once again, I appreciate Nate's point, though, about he wants to know more about the beer itself. Obviously, I bought it in a box where I saw the stout much more out there. But on the can, you don't even notice the stout because it's like
you're right.
all parts at the bottom.
Yeah.
So I can definitely appreciate that of like, you're just like, peanut butter? What? Peanut butter what? But I definitely, I like the simplicity of the Lead Dog Brewing at the top. I appreciate it's definitely cartoony, but I kind of dig it. So I'm sticking with a 4.
Yeah, and those of you that have just watched this for the first time, look, we don't analyze cans and decide whether we're going to buy it or not because of the analyzation. This is a review show, so we're going down our little review scorecard. So we kind of tend to pick apart things. We look at things a little bit analytically, how we can make them better, how we could change something, what we do like about it. So understand this is our score. I'm sure that you don't look at a can in the store for a multiple of like 8 minutes and wonder or not you should buy it or not. This is just the way we do it for the show. Going to accessibility. Look, worldwide, you're not going to find this. Northern California, it's pretty accessible. I'd say all the way down to maybe San Diego and Las Vegas. After that, I think you're going to have a hard time finding that. I'm giving it a score of a 2.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 2.0. I keep just carrying Danny's number and subtracting a half a point. But so when you go to Untapped and you look at the amount of check-ins for this beer, it's at 5,000 or maybe 6,000. The score is good at over 4, but it just tells you their ability to distribute, right?
Yeah.
So it's low. It's specifically Nevada and California, and everybody else is not going to have an opportunity to get this. So 2.0.
Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with you guys. I'm going to stick with the 2.0 simply because of the knowledge bombs you just dropped on me. Once again, it's a little unfair for me because where I specifically live, I definitely wouldn't be able to find this beer. I was closer to the Sacramento area when I picked it up. But I'm just going to stick with you guys because you guys seem to know what you're talking about in this sense. But yeah, I mean, already right there, if it's specifically California and Nevada, you're already eliminating the whole rest of the U.S. That's a very small portion right there. So yeah, if the rest of even the country would struggle to get it, therefore globally, because obviously look at our viewership is a lot of people all over the place. So maybe somebody in Europe would be like, I want to try the peanut butter stout. Too bad.
Yeah. And I don't think you're going to be able to find it in Argentina. Namibia is going to be really tough to find. When these things start popping up like Heineken, then we'll raise the score on accessibility.
Yes.
Hey, Marissa, welcome to the show. All right. Moving on to the last one, the TMDX Factor. I simply like this beer a lot. I think it's got a great taste. I love that it really tasted like what it said it was going to be. And the fact that I kind of am sitting here wanting another beer. I want another one.
Yeah, me too.
That's a rarity, right? I mean, that's something that like I'm quenching for more peanut butter. Okay. I want another one, but I'm going to give it a score of a 4.0.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with 3.5, and that's what I was going to comment on is the drinkability of this stout. Typically a stout late at night, if you want to have an 11% 16-ounce can of AleSmith Speedway Stout, you slowly drink it and you just kind of fade away into sleep. This is something you can actually have 3 or 4 of and be okay with it. Even though it does have that richness of the peanut butter, it's still a light-ish, medium-bodied beer. It's not super heavy. So I like that they kind of, I'm contradicting myself, but I like the fact that they kept an Irish stout sort of profile with the low ABV, so you can enjoy more than one of these. 3.5.
I'm going to steal that word, drinkability. I like that because same thing. The whole time I'm drinking this, I'm not thinking, oh, I'm getting full,
Right,
or
yeah,
oh, even
yeah.
my head's starting to hurt or something. And obviously, I am not as much of a regular drinker as I used to be. But when I do drink beer, I typically, for example, I love to drink beer with cuisine. I like to pair it. You know, I love when I have Thai food to have Thai beer. Same thing with Chinese food and so forth. And this is a beer I could have at least two, right? I'm not drinking it and thinking that I'm overwhelmed. So, and I like that because typically if I'm not one of those people, I just want to have a beer to have a beer. I'm going to want a few. I want it to accentuate the food I'm eating and maybe get a slight buzz. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a 4. I like that.
All right, 4. All right. So, my score, what an impressive day it was for Elite Dogs. A peanut butter stout, 20 for me. I got it a 20. Wow. Great score right there. What the hell, Nate? I already saw your score, and I ain't buying it.
15-5.
Ooh, dude,
Well, listen, I that's not a bad score. Look at it. They're all pretty much above average. It's not quite to the 16.5 that we've made as the mark for a good beer. This is a good beer. I liked it. Unfortunately, it's not accessible to everybody, so they get dinged.
Yeah, I think mine, if I did the math, came out to 18.5.
18
because I gave it a 2. That's right. So 18. That's pretty good out of 20.
18's great.
Yeah.
That's a great score, AJ.
That'd be a great batting average.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Tony Clancy says Sunday Fun Day, Gangbei. All right. Gangbei. And I have over here Gary Kiffin. Thank you so much for hopping around the show. I appreciate it, Gary. I saw your post. I wanted to reach back out to you. Thanks for sending that over about the TikTok. I'll definitely go ahead and check that out. Thanks for stopping by for the show. Now, we're going to get into some more talk with AJ in a little bit, but now it's time for the second beer. And the second beer you may have seen last week if you watched the Super Bowl, or if you're in another country, you may not even know these things exist. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to bring you today's second beer. It's one that's really curious to me. I've never tried it. I haven't tried it yet. I'm excited to try it because I just don't know what the hell to expect. And today's second beer comes from the Bud Light Brewing Company, or Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. It is the Bud Light Next. Hey, AJ, were you able to find it?
No, I was not where I am. So once again, for those that missed it, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere. So sometimes it's harder for me to find stuff. I didn't want to be a party pooper, though, so I did bring a second beer.
You are the man.
What'd you bring?
Because it made me think of us and just time in Asia. And you may be thinking, well, how'd you find a singer? I picked this up, once again, like 2 hours away a long time ago, and I had one left in my fridge. So I didn't want to not have a second beer to drink with you guys.
By the way, you not having access to this is probably not the worst thing in the world. But we're gonna
so I'm going to get to drink my nice beer I enjoy, and we'll have to wait and see how you guys like that one.
But I'm definitely going to give it a 0.5. It's not like you're living in Morocco. I mean, you're in Northern California. You should be able to find a Bud Light product.
Yeah, right? This is true. So, but the thing is, even to go pick up that one, because I initially thought we were going to do regular Bud Light. I didn't realize it was that one until yesterday. And even for me to be able to find that one, bare minimum, I'm driving 25 minutes to the bigger supermarket. So,
AJ, next time you're down here in LA, I have multiple beers right here. I'm going to send you back with the kit. So when we do the third call back,
don't forget for me to remind you of, speaking of coming down to LA, because I have a little bit of news.
All right. Well, I won't forget. Let's go ahead and crack this sucker open. Nate, you guys can smell your own beer.
Smells like a fart.
What the hell is that?
Dude, I'm telling you, I cannot wait till we start describing this thing and we get into the
alrighty. When I broke this thing open, it smells like something like from my old jalopy hoopty cars, and it's smoking, and you got to pull over on the 5 on the grapevine, and then you open up the radiator cap. That's what I smell, like radiator fluid.
It doesn't smell good. It doesn't.
No, it smells awful.
Mine smells great.
All right, let's go. Let me show you what the Bud Light Next looks like.
So this is something you should be drinking out of a can, by the way. We're doing this just so you can see what it looks like.
Oh my gosh, dude.
It's water.
What? It's like clear.
It's like white wine.
Yeah. It looks like something that came out of a box.
Look at this.
So dude, this is a joke.
This is
that looks like a Zima.
This is a fucking joke. Budweiser, what you did is a joke.
This is I mean, I'm looking at this thing. Yes, it looks like a Zima. You know, the first thing that came to mind was Bartles and James White Zinfandel. Yeah, if you're old enough to remember what the hell that is. But this thing is like, it smells like pine wine. Like, cheers with the next guy, says Damien. All right, look, I can see Nate. I can see right through your glass. Well, like I said, we try them all here. This is not, we're not above any alcoholic beer or whiskey or whatever.
Yeah, we're above this one.
Let's give it a shot. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. They lie. That's not beer.
What does it taste like? I'm curious.
Right. Oh my gosh.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to tell you what this is. So I've done a little bit of research.
No. I want to tell you what it tastes like.
Go.
It tasted like, I don't know if you saw my episode of Amoeba Music. It's a big record store here in Hollywood. I'll throw it up there right now. You can check it out.
And DVDs.
I was so excited because they had the original Alf cards from 1987. All right, the packet of Alf cards.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Topps Manufacturing or Topps Company, I don't know what you call them, they're the ones that made the cards. And inside of all their baseball cards, including with the Alf, they put a stick of gum. Now, this pack had never been opened since 1987. I bought it because I wanted the cards. But the gum was still there. And I ate that freaking piece of gum.
It's super hard. It breaks.
It breaks, and then it disintegrates. And it tastes like fucking glue. It tastes like a weird, gluey kind of like, I don't know what it was, but it was gross. And that's what this beer tastes like. Gum of 1987.
Okay, so do you know why?
Nope.
All right, so let me show you guys a little something here. A little something. So I went in to do some research because I was skeptical of this product, as we all should be. I'm going to get rid of this comment here so we can see AJ. All right. But as you can see, listen, beautiful job on the website. And I actually like the design of the can. I think they've done a good job with that. 0 carbohydrates, 80 calories, 4%. AJ, just as a layman, right? Are you able just to pull a carbohydrate out of a beer, or do you have to replace that with something?
Yeah,
right?
it's just like with diet sodas, right? It's 0 sugar, 0 calories.
Exactly.
It's like, well, then how's the flavor and stuff still there? You're putting synthetic things in there.
So here we go. So I went down here, which I thought was quite interesting, was the frequently asked questions. Okay, so let me just go through this quite quickly. The number 2 is the one that I focused on.
Okay.
How do you make a beer with 0 carbs? Which is the question I had. Does a magician ever share their secrets? Never. What does that tell me? They're fucking hiding something.
Yes.
And listen, a magician's not feeding you or making you consume anything that can potentially be bad for you. What we can share is through advances in techniques and technology, horseshit, we have brewed a beer with 0 carbs and a refreshing, super crisp flavor that we know you'll love. Right? With quality ingredients, including barley and rice. Right away, if they're using rice in this beer, they are lowering and cheapening the value of the beer. Now, when you get down here to the ingredients, what are the ingredients in Bud Light next? Water, malt, rice, and number 4, which is not an ingredient, that is a flavoring, and that stuff is horseshit. There's no hops in here, so it's not a beer, number 1. Number 1, it's not a beer.
What?
It has to have 4 ingredients to be a beer. They don't have it. And they tell you right here. Now, the average person doesn't know that. And then they look at natural flavors and they go, well, natural flavors sounds positive. No, it's not. It's the stuff that they put in those ice drinks that you get at a grocery store that are sugar-free. Those things are terrible for you. What Bud Light has made is a Diet Coke version of Bud Light that is seltzer in a can flavored as beer. That's all it is.
Well put, my friend.
So when you go to buy this, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. It is a malt liquor flavored seltzer that tastes somewhat like beer and looks like that.
Yeah, and you made a great comparison when it comes to those ice drinks, because that was for someone that like me that lives a particularly healthy lifestyle, eat a healthy diet. I fell off the wagon in 2021 drinking those stupid ice drinks. And so my main New Year's resolution was to eliminate the ice drinks, which I've done successfully. And people are like, "Why? But they're not bad for you." I'm like, "They're terrible for you because they're 0 to 5 calories and taste incredible." And I usually follow the famous Jack LaLanne quote: "If it tastes good, spit it out," which I mean is a huge exaggeration, but at the same time, if it tastes too good to be true, it probably is. Or if, in this case, 0 carbs, and then this, well, that seems too good to be true. Because it is.
Here's the issue. It's not that they made the drink. If they made this drink and they labeled it as a beer flavored seltzer, then I would understand it. They're lying and using Bud Light and everybody believing that this is actually a lighter version of Bud Light.
Wait,
it's not.
On the marketing anywhere, does it actually say beer?
Ooh, yes. Super crisp light beer.
See, that's interesting. And we'll have to see if they can even keep that up because it's kind of like Kraft cheese products. They can't be called Kraft cheese.
Potato crisps versus potato chips.
Right. Because Kraft cheese is so little actual real cheese ingredients. It's a cheese product, not cheese. So I do wonder if they will catch flack and or even have legal action to suddenly in the future, it's going to be changed to, like you said, beer flavored as opposed to beer.
What's the ice drink, fellas, that you guys are talking about?
It's like a fizzy. Okay, so you probably know bubbly drinks, which are like the natural kind of seltzer water, like a carbonated water. Yeah, because and those are more natural, right? Because you could taste that difference. It tastes like, oh, it's carbonated water with a tiny bit of like flavor. The ice drinks taste like a soda pop. Yeah, but they advertise themselves.
It's called ice.
It's called ice.
That's carbonated.
They taste it when you drink like a bubbly. You realize, oh, it's nice and refreshing, but it is kind of natural, right? But the ice drinks are like too good to be true because they are.
You can chug this stuff. Like Jen said, this is something you can chug. You can funnel this, chug it. There's a place for it.
Somebody say funnel.
Are you gonna do it?
Let's do it. We haven't done it in a while. Let's do it. We haven't done it in a long time.
Danny in blue jeans, per usual.
AJ, do you like seltzers?
Do I like seltzers? Not particularly. We have 2 of our best friends in Vegas who you've met, Dee and Aaron. They're big fans of seltzers. So last time we were there, they had like 5 different kinds in their fridge because they had just gone shopping. So I got to try like 3 or 4 of them. They're not bad. They're just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. The one I don't really like is, and I'm surprised because they make a great beer, is Kona. Hey, Jens, this is for you, my friend. We haven't done one in a while.
Too much. So you're going to be able to whack that down real quick.
Going back to what I was talking about, that flavor, 0 carbs, but I was talking about the gum from Alf. And I know this. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I don't think you probably know this or not, but AJ has never chewed a piece of gum. Is this true still?
This is true still. It's so funny that you remember that. This is correct. So, and let me explain why. Growing up, my mom didn't let me chew gum. She hates the smell of gum. She hates chewing and smacking. I was raised. Well, here's the deal, and I like to think
and smacking.
I'm very thankful for being kind of that last generation to almost be raised kind of with a lot of those old school morals and rules and stuff. So yeah, some of it's a little excessive, but I was taught you always chew with your mouth closed, like this and that, proper manners. My mom was big on manners. So the fact that I never chewed gum by the time I got to high school, people freak out about that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, here, chew a piece of gum. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And then it just becomes this thing where people want you to do it so bad. I'm like, nah, man, I'm cool. So no, I've never chewed a piece of gum.
Dude, that's so weird.
It's so weird. When I found out, I was like one of those people. I was like, AJ, come on, man. All right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead.
3, 2, 1. Next.
Woo!
How was it? Tastes like drinking fucking water.
Dude, it's so weird.
It's you know what? I just can't.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm very, very pissed off to know that there's no hops in here. It was literally like flavored water. We're gonna get to it in a minute.
That's the complaint. The complaint is the lie. Yeah. Don't lie. Tell us all, man. We're all big. We're adults. If somebody doesn't want carbs and they're willing to have the natural flavors and have a beer flavored seltzer, people will drink it.
Yeah,
but don't lie about it.
Yeah, because look, these are beers.
Yes.
This is not a beer.
No.
This is weird gum flavored drink from the 80s.
I am not disappointed that I didn't have time to go drive and get one of those.
How's the Singha?
Oh, it's great. It always is. Yeah, and that's the thing is though, as I said, I love pairing it with food, right? Like a lot of times in America, it's this misconception. People are constantly like, well, I don't want to drink beer with my food. It's too heavy. But from our years of living in Asian stuff, I found that like with Japanese beer and food cuisine, Chinese beer and food, they go together so well, especially if you're eating like Sichuan food, which for people that don't know is one of the 8 Chinese delicacies. Sichuan is very spicy. You drink that with like a Tsingtao. Oh, that's money right there.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's starting to show a little bit here, especially with the craft beer craze that's been going on for about 10 years now, is that people are starting to pair it. It's becoming more exclusive. So my path to beer is more about finding the one unique beer as it is about buying a case of average to below average alcohol. Yeah. So now it's changed. And I think the pairing of food is become a natural progression because we're kind of getting into wine country when it comes to beer with price, exclusivity, and everything.
Yep.
I got to kind of disagree with you on that, Nate. I'm kind of looking at it in terms of like these breweries and these craft brew places as like, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to serve these really nice beers, these dessert beers, these different IPAs, and we're going to give you a bunch of things that are deep fried. Cheese has got to be involved with it, and a clump of potatoes somehow.
Let me clarify.
What's that? Yeah.
I don't mean the brewery themselves. I'm talking about the reaction to a beer and maybe people taking it home and pairing it with. Sure. But you're right. I said to you on a text message the other day, America needs to improve her bar food. It's all dog shit. It's all fried food and pizza. So from that perspective, I agree. But there is an element of people finding a stout and saying, hey, this will go good with a hot fudge sundae or whatever.
Yeah. No, and I'm en route. So as soon as April hits, I'm there. I told you I'm going to take 3 months, evaluate everything. I'm going now into the breweries starting April 1st. And so we're going to try a lot of these. It's going to be the brewery tour, and then the Food Friday is going to be based off of what they go ahead and serve. But if you drink one of these peanut butter stouts and then you have some weird potato mound with cheese, throw a little bit of shredded meat on there, depending on what area of the country you live in. Maybe out here in West, they're going to sprinkle tahini. And here you go. That's what you're going to eat. You're talking about 2,000 empty calories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessary. And this is coming from a guy that likes shit in a box. You know what I mean? Like, had to change his way of thinking about food and stuff. As I get older, I understand the importance of it. And now that I drink a little bit more different beers, I will say, I'm not saying exclusive. Yeah, it really does. Getting a little plate of something does have its value, and I finally see it. Anyway, totally agree with that point about bar food. Yes, Damien, yeah.
And that's kind of the interesting thing when we look at, say, like traditional Chinese cuisine, when we would go out to like a restaurant, say when we were in Guangzhou or Nate visiting in Shanghai or whatever, it's almost the same setup where you're eating family style. So you have the spread and you can try a little bit of everything as you have your beer too. Yeah. It's not like I have my cheesy potatoes, that's it, and I'm just going to chow down on all this. You kind of pace yourself a little bit more. You get to grab a little bit of this. Ooh, that's a spicy, like Sichuan chicken type thing. Okay, or I want a little bit of the fish stew while I have it, right? And it's kind of, you get to, like in America, it's this constant, like you go to a restaurant and this is the wine they recommend. So you have your course and your wine, and then it's the two things. And sure, it's nice, but that's what I like about Chinese cuisine is I get to try a little bit of everything. I should say Asian cuisine, excuse me. I get to try a little bit of everything and then pair it with my beer and so forth. So I kind of like that.
And that's why typically Chinese beer is 4.5%, right? It's 3.8 to 4.5. Qingdao, Harbin, Snow,
all great.
All of them, because you're supposed to be drinking it while you're eating. That's the whole point. So instead of it being super heavy and filling, they're giving you an option that's lighter. And that's also why they drink Baijiu.
I was about to say, and what do they give you to make up for the lack of alcohol?
Baijiu.
Baijiu. So if you want to get really drunk and also put some hair on your chest,
love it.
Drink some Baijiu.
Yeah. Well, the lights turned off. But hey, there's nothing better than having a Mons with some salty pork.
Mons.
Well, I remember Mons. We've told this story before. I was reading the beer bottle snow upside down for about 3 or 4 years in China
Until
I finally
everybody's like, what the hell's that?
You know what the interesting part is? Qingdao,
snow
I
flake?
loved. Harbin, I loved. Snow, I loved. And they were all like reasonably priced. Remember, you used to get the big bottle of any of those. So how many, the normal beer bottle is how many fluid ounces? 12. But these were how much were the big ones, Danny? Like
No. It was
months.
vertical. It was vertical.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he was reading it down.
It was like this.
But the thing is, when I finally realized it, and the guy I was with was like, dude, there's a fucking snowflake on the plane. I was like, oh, I just never actually noticed that. Yeah.
But you could get the big bottle of any of those, which was like twice the size of a normal one, for 6 kwai. $1 US.
6 kwai. No, it was 2. It was 3 renminbi.
Really?
Yeah, if you wanted the 22, 24 ounce Qingdao, it was $3. It was 3 renminbi 50.
See, then I'm remembering wrong too. It was that cheap because I remember it was
super cheap.
And then
which is, by the way, for everybody out there, this 90 cents.
Yeah,
and it was 2 beers in a heart, in a green bottle.
At this point, who misses China?
There's a lot I miss about it. 100%. I miss our time together and stuff. Like, because here's the deal: that first job where we all met. It's funny. I actually replaced Danny as he went to go open up his new school, but he still came to work 1 day a week at our location. We went to go see him all the time. The location that Nate and I were working at together that Danny had previously worked at was terrible. The job was terrible. Everything about that was terrible. But what was awesome was the core group of friends we made there and how we would hang out multiple times a week. Like, it was the only time in my life where I was going out to bars 2 to 3 nights a week. Like, Max and I would go to Club 5. Was that, remember we'd go to Club 5 twice a week just to get some beer, and then we would always go out together. So I miss that camaraderie. And then I also, one of the main things I miss, public transportation.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I can't stand. I've just had so many car issues for the last 5 or 6 years.
Driving is so overrated. I remember missing it when I was in China, and then I'm like, man, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, any of the top tier cities in China have mass transportation on complete lockdown. They never miss a schedule ever. It's just people movers. People movers.
Yeah, and it was that, and you save so much money too.
Hey guys, this is what we're drinking. Is the Bud Light next? It is the weirdest, a virtual hug to you too, Drunatic. Let's all give Drunatic a virtual hug. Yeah, we got you. We got you in our grasp. We're squeezing you. We're hugging you. Right. But we're drinking this. It's 0 carbs, 0 super crisp, and light beer.
0 flavor.
Yeah, I gotta say, Nate, that's the thing that's striking, 0 flavor. But something that does have flavor is the What Would You Rather segment of this show. It's time for.
I'm good to go, Danny.
A little fast today, so get ready, Nate. Nate, AJ, you guys are both movie freaks, movie buffs. Enjoy them. I'm going to go ahead, and this is all movie related.
Okay, I love it.
Go for it.
Movie locations. Where would you rather go? Would you rather go to Petra, Jordan, where they filmed Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark? Okay, look at that. It's right in the side of a mountain. Some great, like, I don't know what's inside there. You know, you guys.
Real quick correction: Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
It's a Bud Light
yes, that's it. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Okay. Or would you rather go to Tiki National Forest in Guatemala? Ooh, what was filmed there? Show that famous scene, Nate. That is Yavin 4, Ewoks. Okay, that is a George Lucas. He saw it when he was in London at a travel agency on a calendar and said, that's where I'm going to film the Ewoks. So, Tiki National Guatemala Forest or Petra, Jordan. This one's tough because they both look awesome. They're both right in my wheelhouse when it comes to like ancient kind of civilizations. I really think those things are the kind of things that I like. But they have such significance to the movies that I grew up loving. As a New York, I'm pretty envious of the public. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go with Tiki National. Okay, there's something about the forest that I absolutely love. I love ancient ruins. Although I definitely want to see the Middle East, and I've seen ruins like Tiki National Forest. Return of the Jedi is probably my favorite movie after Rocky II. Like, yeah, it probably goes Rocky 2, Return of the Jedi, if we're going to get very specific. Nate, which one would you rather go with?
Yeah, so it's a little bit tough. I think for my love of the Indiana Jones 3, right? This was Last Crusade.
3, yeah,
right?
when he meets his dad.
So I absolutely, that was my favorite movie as a kid, besides Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So
Look at his hair.
But the difference is between these two, right? You've got the arid desert versus rainforest style, tons of humidity. So while I'd love to go see Tiki National, I think I'd have a more pleasant experience going to Petra. And there is that connection for me with the movie. For how much I love Star Wars and I love Return of the Jedi too, I liked Indiana Jones more, so I'm going to go Petra.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with. I've always appreciated the Star Wars trilogy, but I grew up a massive fan of Indiana Jones, way more significant to me. I had this argument so many times in college with all my Star Wars nerd friends. I'm like, no, Indiana Jones all day long, always Indiana Jones. I love The Last Crusade, but more so from a travel perspective, I've been to tropical settings. I lived in Thailand for like 4 months. It was my longest stint. So I've kind of felt the tropics and stuff. I would love to go to the Middle East and explore that region of the world, which I've had almost no exposure to. I know that location in Jordan, I think it's pretty isolated. From what I've heard, it's really hard to get to.
Yeah,
but, so it's like there's nothing else around that particular area. So I would obviously plan a trip where I go and see other stuff. But I think I would want to go to Jordan just to get me to that side of the world. I want to see the Middle East. I'd love to go see, other locations over there. So I'm picking Jordan.
By the way, just quickly, how awesome was Harrison Ford to be involved in all of this?
I mean, the man. And the fact that, hey,
absolutely incredible back then.
Never give up on your dreams, right? He had thought acting was over for him, became a carpenter, this or that, and look at him now. So
yeah,
awesome.
I know. Yeah.
Never give up. It's never too late.
Thanks, AJ. I don't know if that was direct towards me or anybody, but I feel like that was, thanks, man.
Anybody and everybody. If you have a goal, and sometimes as you get older, you may have to adjust your goals slightly. You have to be realistic about it, but never give up.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Nate knows I've gone on this thing and I could drink 2 14%ers, but when it comes to the quote of the week that we do, and when I've done it before, I'm very adamant about this, how I live my lifestyle. This is the secret, the law of attraction. I love all that stuff. But yeah, both places would be awesome. Nate's got a stiff neck. We're moving on to number 2. I think that the number 2 one is pretty cool because going to movies, which one of these would you rather be really good at or try or doing the movies? Because both are pretty scary for me. One, scuba diving. I'm thinking, oh, that's scary. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful. That's bitching. But there's also a lot of technical things going on. You also see the very finished product right there. That person right there probably has over 100, maybe 200 hours in the sea. So, when you're in the sea and a shark comes up on you or a weird fish, it's a different feeling. All right.
Hi, shark.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Or would you rather go and jump out of a friggin' airplane for absolutely no reason because it's where
there's a reason.
Skydiving. Look at that. Look how happy they look. I mean,
dude, it's so fun.
Dude, I mean, they just look like they're having a good time. That's a great picture. She looks like she's having fun. She's got Guy Fieri in the background.
Or Hulk Hogan.
Guy Fieri with Albert Einstein.
This one's tough, man, because I've always wanted to jump out of an airplane. I think I will do it at some point. But something about the sea is mystifying. It's beautiful for me, like the forest. I'm going scuba diving. I'd love to figure that out. Nate, where are we going?
Well, so I'm in an envious position where I've done both of these things. So I've jumped out of an airplane. I've scuba dived in the Bahamas. Scuba diving is great. Jumping out of an airplane is a different experience. What my big takeaway from it was, and I have a huge fear of heights. I know Danny knows that. I'm not sure if AJ does, but I got a big fear of heights. But when you're up there, that fear goes away. 100% goes away.
Really?
I didn't feel any anxiety from the moment I stepped on the plane. You got somebody attached to your back to the moment that I was hanging off the back of that thing, falling off. I didn't feel anxiety at all. Loved it. Every single minute of it. If you have an opportunity to go skydive, please go do it. I think it takes probably 100 jumps for you to become certified, which is something I think I'd like to do. I choose skydiving.
Okay, Martin says he's got a pilot license. Let's go.
Woo! So for me, as I always joke, I don't do a lot of extreme sports stuff. In fact, I do none simply because I step in the ring. I compete in Muay Thai and kickboxing. That is my dangerous activity I participate in. So I too have a fear of heights, but it's not one of those things like I need to conquer my fears. You know why? Because I used to be deathly afraid of fighting, getting punched in the face too. I have no problem with conquering my fears. That being said, don't want to take that extra risk of jumping out of an airplane. So I'm going to go with scuba diving for a few reasons. A, also just me being me. It's technically exercise I can do also. It's a hobby that I get some exercise doing. Second, I think underwater is fascinating. It's a whole nother world we've hardly explored in a sense. I think it could be very therapeutic in that way too. And just kind of a beautiful experience for me. I think skydiving as a one-off would be a rush and a crazy experience, but I feel like each time you scuba dive, you can go to different locations and see different things. And I'm going to go with scuba diving just because the safety factor and exercise.
There you go.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I like all valid points. All right, the next one. If you're just hopping on, this is not Bartles and James white wine. We are drinking, this is actually marketed as a beer. This is Bud Light Next.
Lemonade.
It's not even lemonade. Lemonade's thicker.
Lemonade.
Gatorade.
Refreshing drink.
All right. The next one. Look, we all grew up around this era. AJ was probably the last of this era. But when you wanted to go and do something as a young kid, like a movie, your mom would drop you off at the
mall.
The mall. That's right. You walk around the mall. You know, you might go see a movie. You might pick up chicks. You might go to Structure and get a sweet outfit.
Sure.
Structure. We had an adopted brother for a year, and he worked at Structure in the mall.
Remember that everything was like a bar, like it was always a stripe.
Mm-hmm. But one thing that you definitely did is you went to one of these two places. So what would you rather, guys? Would you rather stop off at Dairy Queen and get yourself a Blizzard? Okay, look at that. Summer berry cheesecake, Jurassic chomp. Now, here's the thing. Now, you're looking at this picture of the Blizzard and you're wondering why they're upside down. Because that was their marketing thing. If it falls out, it's free. Yeah. Right? So, okay, you have the s'mores, you have Oreo. There's the nutrition
guide.
Okay.
Just Danny, read Girl Scout Thin Mints nutritional facts.
Girl Scout. Oh, that's
holy shit! Look at Royal Rocky Road Trip. 1,500. Oh my God! Girl Scout is the worst. You're right.
No, Rocky Road Trip is 1,500 calories.
But look at Girl Scout Thin Mints.
Oh,
no. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I read that wrong.
You're right. Dude, 1,500 calories, 70 grams of fat, 199 carbohydrates.
All right, so you're not going to pair it up with the Bud Light. But another place you might want to walk. It's probably the one smell that you're most familiar with, the mall. You hit that place, you stop. What should I get one? Should I not? And then you see those candy cane M&Ms. Boom, Mrs. Fields. All right, Mrs. Fields cookies. There it is, right there. That's the jam. All right, we have a bunch of people. Oh, look at those companies. I have a pilot license. Nice choices. Frank, welcome to the show. All right, Frank is here. Welcome back. Bud Light Next. Never heard of it. Learning something each day. You ain't missing much, Frank.
Nah.
Is Frank Stallone?
No, that is.
That's what I said the first time.
That's my good friend Frank, one of the only teachers that would actually stop and hang out and talk to me in Shanghai. I worked at the international school there as a substitute. Very great guy. This one's tough, but the thing is, I don't really like ice cream that much. It takes a rarity for me to like ice cream, but I love cookie cake. So I'm going with Mrs. Fields.
What do you mean, dude? You are the sweet monster. What do you mean you don't like ice cream? Nobody likes sweets like you do.
I know, but this is what would you rather? You have to, I don't like the coldness touching my back molars. I would much prefer. I would much.
Thank you. It came out. All right, as a teeth thing. All right.
Yeah.
I
don't like ice cream that much.
I got to do the Blizzard. I'll do an ice cream over a cookie. I'll put the cookies in the ice cream. How about that?
See, I don't like that, but that's another story. AJ, which one are you going with?
So funny enough for me, I didn't have a sweet tooth growing up. I didn't get a sweet tooth actually till I met my wonderful partner, Jessica. She's the one that introduced me to eating sweets and stuff. So for me as a kid, the mall, as I was kind of whispering, was all about pretzels. I was all about Auntie Anne's or Wetzel's pretzels. But so this is going to be a nostalgia factor from completely unrelated to the 90s of me going to the malls and stuff. This is going to be when I took my trips to Hong Kong. Like every weekend, especially at the end of Guangzhou, Mrs. Fields cookies were in the metro stops, and I'd always stock up and get a bunch of them on my way back to the mainland that would last me throughout the week. This is back before I kind of was on a strict diet again, obviously. So I have that nostalgia factor for Mrs. Fields cookies in the MTR stops in Hong Kong, one of my all-time favorite places in the world. So I'm going with Mrs. Fields.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, and it's funny because Chris says you got to go with Dairy Queen. Kenmore, as a kid, there's 3 within walking distance. Yeah, they're right around the corner. But for me, I'm going with the cookie all day. There's nothing better than those little M&M crunchy cookies mixed in there. That to me is the way to go. But we're going on to question number 4, and this one's gonna be tough. So we might be here for a minute. This is going with action movies. Okay, now these action movies were Haber Sitter Knitter. I don't know what that means. But these action movies were ranked in a bunch of different polls as being one or the other. Both were in the top 10 on multiple polls. So I kind of pulled them together and I ranked them as this. Which movie do you prefer more? We already talked about Jackie Chan, so we're bringing in his all-time classic, Police Story from 1985. Go ahead and bring that sucker up there, Nate. Police Story, it's a classic. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. AJ will elaborate, I'm sure, a lot more, but it's just, one of the great Jackie Chan movies where he plays not so much of, he just plays a Hong Kong cop, and it's got a great story to it. The other one, going with 2003, very, very new to this whole action cinema, kind of threw it all on the scene. Now you're going to see a lot of movies coming from this region. We're talking about Ong Bak. Tony Jaa, right there.
Never even heard of that.
Knuckles wrapped up. He was doing shit that we never seen before. Look at the jumps, the knees, the elbows, okay? Elbowing people really was never a thing in action movie until this Ong Bak came out. Then it got tightened up a little bit, and, it's brought to the Western audience, but it really comes from the 8-point striking system of Muay Thai. So which one would you prefer? For me, this is a tough one because Ong Bak is just an incredible movie all the way around, hands down. It's just something you need to see if you haven't seen it. But we're talking classic Jackie here. I love that it's actually got a storyline with a lot of Jackie stuff. So I'm going with Police Story.
I don't know either of these movies, so it tells you I am completely out of the loop when it comes to this. But I would like to ask the two of you, which one do you think, as someone who's uncomfortable, oh my gosh, who doesn't know anything about these movies, which is a better one for me to start with?
I'm going to go with, so for you, Nate, being you are obviously married to a wonderful Chinese partner. Yep. And for me, these are both incredible films that I could talk about for hours on end. I'm going to recommend Police Story simply because the Criterion Collection remastered the first two Police Story movies, released them in a Blu-ray box set. They're absolutely incredible. And on top of that, the first one is, I believe, still streaming on HBO Max. So it's easily accessible in that sense. It's kind of a more structured, traditional cop action movie in a sense. I feel like it's slightly more digestible. That being said, Ong Bak was completely groundbreaking in the sense of it introduced Thai action cinema to the world. Yeah. And before that, Thai action cinema was not just relatively within the scope of Thailand, but even smaller markets within that. These were so Tony Jaa was the star of this film, was an apprentice of Pana Ritakai, the guy who kind of pioneered homemade Thai action cinema in the late 70s, early 80s. He was a guy that watched Jackie Chan's movies and then just started filming movies with a small group of people within Thailand, low budget movies. One of the very first ones that you can watch on YouTube is the original Born to Fight from 1984, I believe. They remade it later on, but Born to Fight, it's available on YouTube. And you see, it was like backyard movie making. And as this director, action choreographer, Pana Ritakai kind of jokingly said, his movies were just for cab drivers and local folk who would do the outdoor movie setting, moonshine. But Ong Bak was the first film that introduced it to the whole world. And
give me Ong Bak.
Yeah, these real contact, and they fought. They hit each other for real. They took Hong Kong cinema that they were inspired by, added in traditional Thai martial arts and Muay Thai, the more mainstream known one, and created this very unique action aesthetic that then had this major influence on filmmaking and action cinema. And once again, it goes in waves. A few years later, we were introduced to the Indonesian martial arts with Pencak Silat. And so now all of these have become a lot mainstream. But earlier I mentioned how Bruce Lee was such an inspiration for modern competitive martial artists. Ong Bak was actually the movie that inspired Israel Adesanya, the last style bender, to take up Muay Thai kickboxing. And for those that don't know, he is the current UFC middleweight world champion and was also an extremely successful kickboxer with a record of 75-5. So Ong Bak, in turn, also inspired guys to take up Muay Thai. It was one of my first introductions to like real authentic Muay Thai as well, because that movie came out while I was in high school, 2003. And I remember that we're talking early streaming internet where it took a day to download the trailer and me showing all my friends like, whoa. That being said, I love Ong Bak, but 1985, Police Story, Jackie Chan, absolutely incredible film, one of the greatest action movies of all time. The finale is maybe the best one, if not the best, one of the best finales ever. It was, and the reason why it has such a generic title like Police Story is at the time, Jackie Chan was so hot that anytime they announced his next project, that other companies would try to copy and make the movie before he could release it. So let's say he was doing a movie like Drunken Master. Another company would start making a drunken movie first and try to release it beforehand to capitalize. So they didn't want anyone to know what they were doing, so they just called it Police Story.
Guys, if you ever want to deep dive in anything, just ask AJ a very easy question, like which one should I watch first?
Hey, I said I could talk to on hours on end, so I've kept it pretty short for me.
No, you did. So I'm going to choose Police Story off of his recommendation. I just feel it's probably the more classic one that I probably want to start with, and then as I evolved, I'd get into the other one. So for me, Police Story.
Yep. And I both amazing movies, but Police Story, I feel like any cinema goer could watch and enjoy, especially because we have that beautiful Criterion Collection remastered version that is also on HBO Max right now.
Oh yeah,
guys, great, good point.
Listen, AJ is the man. Forget who you know or what you know out there. Listen to Martial Arts Mania podcast. There's all kinds of stuff like this. The man knows what he's talking about. He's very well versed in everything when it comes to
just turn it down to half speed, and you'll be catching everything.
Take a breath. Get some oxygen. I want to go back to this comment from Drunatic. It's the Hamburger bar snites. Okay. And then later.
Raspberry cake.
Okay. This is my favorite dessert. It's the Danish raspberry cake. This is my favorite all-time dessert. I'll lay it right down right now. I had it in Copenhagen twice, and it is friggin' awesome.
Do you have any pictures of it for next week?
I can try to find it, but I'm telling you. I want to go back. And it said, damn it, Drew, I haven't had one from years. Martin is a Dane living in Florida. But let's go to the last question. We haven't done the gross one in a while. So here it comes. Which would you rather? Okay. You take a bunch of earthworms and you grind them and mash them up into like a paste. Almost like a peanut butter. It's worms of peanut butter. Their guts, their skin, all their gross stuff. And you spread it on toast and you bite into it. Okay. Or you find your friend's neighbor's Rottweiler, and all that drool is just being collected into a glass, and then you drink the glass of 8 ounces of dog drool.
All right, what are you doing?
There's something about earthworms that I don't like, mashed up and squished and smelly and like pasty, and that tastes like buttery flavor. But dog drool is just so nasty. It's created. I'd rather just eat the whole damn insect than eat a dog's saliva. Drinking it, I don't even know if I could get it down. I'm going with the earthworm butter.
Yeah, so I've eaten my fair share of insects. Give me the worms. I'm not drinking the meat.
All right, Bubba's on board with the worm. We got
No
Martin
way.
on board with the worm.
Just think about like the actual like going through the process of getting that 16 ounces, the glass down of drool compared to just chewing on that worm thing and swallowing it. So for me, earthworms for sure.
No, bro, it's butter. The worm.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I can eat that.
Jonathan's laughing but throwing up. AJ's thinking, I think he might go drool.
No, what I'm going to ask is which one is the better PED, performance enhancing drug? Because as we all know, certain things like deer antler spray is now considered a performance enhancing drug because of the capabilities of the deer antler growing back, and it's actually helped athletes recover. So you think perhaps the Rottweiler drool may give you excessive strength and speed, but I'm going to stick with the earthworms because worms you can chop in half and then they regrow. So I think it's going to have regenerative abilities that's going to help me heal. So I'm going with the earthworm. Oh, yeah. See, then it wouldn't be that bad. You put the hot sauce on it. Easy.
Most people are going with the worms. Marissa says, put some hot sauce on it. It could be tolerable. I don't know. Mushed up worms, neither would be good. But that is today's What Would You Rather. Thanks for participating. This is what we're drinking. I'd rather drink any other beer than this. This ain't even a beer. Okay, let's whack it down and give it a score.
Whack it down. Yeah,
right.
that takes
It's going right into it.
Garbage. It's garbage. Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch. I'm disappointed.
Not good at all. Don't really taste it. Like I said, it tasted like a piece of gum from 1987 from a Topps card. It just has no flavor to it. There's absolutely no sweetness. There's no hoppiness to it. And anybody that's ever watched this show knows I love hops. Yummy as worms. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, put sauce on my food. Yes, worms, please. But this Bud Light, it just does not taste good. It's like sucking on a piece of cardboard. I'm going ahead. I'm giving it a score on taste of a 1.0.
I'm giving it a 0.
A 0.
It's not beer.
That's what makes sense because Nate's saying it's not beer. So how could it have any more than a 0?
Yeah. So right off the rip, you guys lied. So I'm going to go 0. Nice try.
Okay. Nate, so AJ's drinking Singha, which is a Thai beer. What do you give it a score of on taste?
For me, and once again, I'm big on nostalgia always, and I think it's a nostalgia factor. I'm going to go with a 4.5.
Whoa, Mr. Thailand.
Yep.
Mr. Guangdi.
I'll take some Viagra, please. they sell Valium and Viagra right in the street.
And steroids.
Look, Nate's walking into a 7-Eleven backwards.
Oh, yeah. All right, price. Look, it was 6 for 6 cans. It was $9.99, so $10. Nate, do the math. How much is a can of beer?
Too much. Oh, how much is a can of beer? So I don't know,
$1.70. $1.75. Okay. Once again, not a great price. I mean, it's a good price to be honest with you, but once again, not a great taste. So you're paying $1.75. You're basically paying for an Aquafina. I'm going to go ahead and give it a score of a 2.5.
All right. So how much would it cost for you to take a Pellegrino, pour it into a glass, and then take one shot of Budweiser, dump it on top? That's what the price should be. It should be 22 cents. All right. So for me, price 0.5. Anything you spend on this is too much.
Okay. AJ.
I can't remember. I did specifically have to go to like 2 different Bevmos actually to even get this Singa, in the import section, the international section. So, and I believe it did cost a little bit more. So when you go to a Thai restaurant though, it's usually not too unreasonably priced. So it all depends on whether you're going out or you're trying to have it in. So I'm going to stick with that middle range of like 2.5.
Nice.
Yeah.
AJ, because you're in the mountains and hopefully you'll be in Orange County, next time I see you, I'm going to make sure I put a variety pack of 12 beers together for you.
Okay.
Just so that you have them. Yeah, I'm going to do it for you, man. Ooh. All right, design. I don't know what the frig I'm looking at. Is this an energy drink? Is this a seltzer? Is it a beer? Because it says Bud Light on it. I kind of like the color scheme. Mm-hmm. You can see the light blue. All right. Yep. When I do blue steel, it's for real blue steel. But this can right here, like I said, if you put this in the energy drinks and maybe covered up this Bud Light and put a Cobra on there, I wouldn't know the difference.
Cobra.
So, I don't really love it, but it's not too bad. 2.5.
All right. So, I'm actually going to give it a 3.0. I kind of like the design. You know, I'm a big fan of this color combination. I like the dark blue, the light blue, and the white. And it does. I know what they're doing. They're kind of subliminally getting you to understand that it's not really a beer. It's a cross between a Bud Light and a seltzer. So thinking about that, even though I hate what they're doing, the design's not bad. 3.0.
AJ, show that label.
Yep. And you know what? So
that thing's badass.
Classic nostalgia design. I'm gonna make a bold statement. I'm gonna give it a 5. You know why? You know why? First of all, I love Thai culture. I love Asian culture. But the best part is this design's so cool, you could put it on a t-shirt. You know how I know that? Because every freaking foreigner in Thailand is wearing a sleeveless Singa or Chang beer shirt. Yep. So I'm just going to go and give it a 5.
Road. Everybody's on Koh San Road with a guitar, braided hair, and one of these dumb t-shirts.
Yep. And hey, and they're dirt cheap. And guess what? When you're sweating that much, you want like throwaway shirts that you can have and wear.
Tank tops.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, going on to accessibility, you can find it pretty much anywhere unless you're in AJ's town. So in the States, they get a good credibility for accessibility.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the new line of thing. They're pumping it out. Around the world, you're not going to be able to find it. So I'm going to give it a score of a 3.0.
Yeah. I'm going to go a 4.5 because I think it's everywhere besides global. So for me, I'm going to do 4.5. This thing soon is going to get legs. It's going to be everywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, for mine, I'm trying to think because it's not exactly in your regular supermarket, especially if you're in an area like where I am or even the Central Valley of California. That being said, though, then we have to think about the rest of the world, like in Asia and how accessible Singa is. Obviously, it's a main beer of Thailand. I can't really speak. I don't think it was necessarily very accessible in China or anything. No,
I mean, if you would go to a specific place or restaurant, might carry it, but they didn't have it in convenience stores.
Right. So I think restaurant-wise, any Thai restaurant you go to pretty much anywhere is going to have it. For home use, maybe not. So maybe I'll stick with that average score of 2.5 again.
There you go.
Nice. All right, TMD X Factor. I hold no allegiance to this thing. It's new. I'll give them that. Other than that, I'm going to give them just a little bit of bump. It's a weird taste. 3.0.
Yeah, so I'm sure you guys can tell I'm not into this thing at all. I don't like I don't like the shadiness of what they're doing. So for me, I gotta go. It's tough. I gotta do 0.5. I think I gotta do 0.5.
I'll tell you what, Nate. You don't twist my arm much, but going off of that, I'm changing my score. I'm going. You're right. You're exactly right. And the fact that I didn't think this through pisses me off. But I guess it's better than being pissed on. So the thing is they promote it as a beer, but they don't have any friggin' hops. I love hops. I'm giving them a 0.5.
Yes.
AJ, what do you got?
The X Factor. That's what, right?
Yeah. X Factor for Singha, yeah.
I just feel like I'm being biased giving it such high ratings on all this stuff, but you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.5.
Dude, it's your beer, man.
It's my beer.
It's a good beer. But you know what isn't a good beer? Might be the lowest scoring beer we've ever had, or if you want to call it a beer. 2016, I had to go back in the archives and see what I gave it, but it was pretty low. I gave the Bud Light Next a 9.5, a dismal score, a 9.5. You know me, it's just a terrible score. Nate, what'd you give it?
An 8.5.
8.5.
AJ accounted for you. You got a 19.
Yeah, I was doing my math too, so I got a 19. Yeah,
but for me, I got an 8.5, and they're lucky to fucking get that.
Yeah,
if it wasn't for accessibility, if I can go negative integers, I would. But 8.5.
Yeah, I got 19 on mine. That's a
great score.
Yeah,
great beer.
It's a great beer. It's a classic beer. It's representing the country, right? You know, anybody that's been to Thailand knows the main two: Singa, Chang beer. I don't regret my score at all.
It's a great score on a macro beer. But you know what? I want to go ahead and do something real quick. Bud Light, please stop calling Bud Light Next a beer. you don't have any hops in it, and that's pissing me off. Right.
The man has spoken.
All
I
right.
love it.
It's time for what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening? AJ, we changed the format a little bit.
Okay.
Whenever I roll 1, 2, or 3, we're only just going to talk about that. So here we go. 2 again. All right. What are you watching? I am watching Arcanine League of Legends. If you haven't seen it, it's a cartoon on Netflix based off the video game. The cartoon, what do they call it? The animation is unbelievable. It's probably like nothing you've ever seen before. It is one of the most advanced styles of animation. It's just a great cartoon series. If you haven't checked it out, it's called Arcane. And yeah, that's what I'm watching. What about you, Nate?
Chef's Table on Netflix. I'm a big fan of cooking shows. I get inspiration from there, and they take deep dives into wonderful chefs from around the world with unique stories. Check it out if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I love it, and you should be on one, hands down. This is all preparation. He's great on the beer show, but Nate needs to be on a fucking cooking show. Let's get him out there.
Nobody wants to see my overcooked ribs.
All right, let's go, AJ. What are you watching?
I am currently watching Peacemaker on HBO Max. Yeah, with John Cena, and it is good. It's very good. I've always been a big fan of John Cena and just felt like he never got that right role. That he's great and everything, but just nothing that can really take off. I feel like they finally found the perfect role for him. He is, I'm not sure if he would by definition be an anti-hero, but he is like the worst superhero ever that you can't help but feel sorry for. And the show is really getting going. So I think we're on like episode 5. We love it. Peacemaker on HBO Max.
Boom.
I heard it's great. Well, one thing that was great was having you here, AJ. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Close it out. I want to go ahead and close it out with the quote of the show, and then I'll let you guys say something on parting. This quote is brought to us from Benjamin Franklin, and he said, "Beer is proof that God loves us." Boom. Very simple. That, even back then, back to the 1700s, when Benjamin Franklin was trying to figure out electricity by flying a kite, using those weird spectacles of him, he realized how important beer was, not just to the people and their happiness, but just to society and what that brings to, a community all together and stuff like that. I'm not sure if they had peanut butter stouts back then, but they had all crazy stuff. They probably just had your basic fermented ale. But even a couple hundred years ago, he realized that beer is the proof that God loves us. And I love that. I think it's just a simple quote. And, what do you guys think?
Hey, man, beer's awesome. It's a way for people to get together, socialize. That's really the thing that I like about it so much. There is a community that's burgeoning at the moment. Like Danny always talks about the snobbiness of it. We don't necessarily need to get into that. When somebody lies, it's different, or somebody treats you like shit. That's different.
Yeah.
But other than that, I love the community that beer represents for the most part. And it's fun sharing them with your friends.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I think you can have an appreciation for the finer beers, or if you're really into going like beer tasting, right? And that's great. But you also have to have an appreciation for something, just a classic Pabst Blue Ribbon or something, you know what I mean? And judge other people for what they like to drink. We can all come together and enjoy our beers, share information and knowledge. It's just like anything in life. Movies, music, culture, even your political opinions, everyone should be allowed to think and feel the way they want to while being respectful to others. That's what matters. And beer can bring us all together, even if we're all drinking something different, as long as it's not the weird Bud Light thing.
Yeah. I mean, look at like Chris just said, look at the number of people the show brings together from all over the world, whether you're friends or not. I feel Zambuca is a sign that the devil exists.
I love Zambuca.
And this guy next to me loves the Zambuca. I like it. Like, I'll drink 1 or 2 shots of it. It's like eating the white jelly bean. This guy pounds it, dude.
It is like that.
But yeah, absolutely great quote. It brings people together. I'm all behind that. Nate, thank you again for such a great show. And AJ, what a pleasure for bringing you back. The people have spoken. You got numerous comments. It was such a great experience having you back. Guys, check out Martial Arts Mania podcast. If you haven't, AJ is the aficionado. He is the man when it comes to anything martial arts movies. You can go ahead and hit him up on any of his socials like Twitter.
And if you want to,
there you go.
If you want to add me on Instagram, just also send me a message just saying that you saw me on this show, and I'll add you on there.
Yeah, really, really great, AJ. And we look forward to calling you back. Guys, have a great week. Whatever you do, wherever you are, I wish you the very best. I'm Travel Man Dan. That's Nate. That's AJ. Remember, it's a big world out there. Make sure you see every bit of it. Bye, guys. All right.